What's up YouTube, this is Dennis Panuta for tutorials.eu. In this video you are going to learn how to use Lambda expressions in Python. And it's not going to be I who is teaching you how to use Lambda expressions, but it's going to be Blake. And Blake is an experienced Python developer who's going to teach you how to use those Lambda expressions step by step. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Now I hand it over to Blake.
G'day guys, and welcome to a quick tutorial on Lambda functions in Python 3. My name is Blake and I'm going to be going over a couple of examples throughout this tutorial and explaining the differences between a traditional function and a Lambda function. By the end of this video, you should have a pretty good understanding of what a Lambda function is. That includes the syntax of a Lambda function, examples of where a Lambda function can be used, and how you can create your own Lambda functions to help shorten your code base and improve your coding style. So I've just typed up a quick example here. Don't worry if you don't understand everything that's on the screen at the moment. That's what this tutorial is going to explain and show you. I've just put this up to give a quick example of the stage that we'll be at by the end of this video and the understanding that you'll have. So we start off with a small list of integers at the top of the screen, referenced by a variable called small list. We then have another variable called final list, which is the result of running a couple of functions over this smaller list. And we're using a Lambda function within there. So this will print out our final list, which will be a list of all of the uneven integers, where x modulus 2 is not equal to 0. So if we give this a run, you can see the results down the bottom here are 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, all of the uneven integers from that original list. And when I run code, this is in Atom, I'm using a package here. So what I'm doing is basically the exact same as if I had a terminal open and I typed in Python and then the name of the file and ran that file. Basically Atom is doing that for me, all within the text editor and showing me the output. So if you're wondering what I'm doing to get that output on the bottom of the screen there, I'm just running the file and Atom is showing me any output. So a Lambda function is a small anonymous function. In Python, normal functions are defined using the def keyword. Lambda functions are defined using the lambda keyword. So anonymous functions can also be called lambda functions, vice versa, they're interchangeable. Lambda functions behave just like regular functions that were declared with the def keyword. However, they're not defined with a name, you can define them without a name. A lambda function can take any number of arguments, but it can only have one expression. And you'll see what I mean by that shortly when we start looking in depth at these lambda functions. And so that single expression that a lambda function can have is also known as the lambda expression or the anonymous expression. So to follow along with this tutorial, you don't need a whole lot of equipment. All you need is Python 3 downloaded and installed, and you can download that from this website right here, python.org downloads. So you'll have to download and install that. You'll also need a IDE or a text editor, somewhere for you to type your code and then a way to run your code as I was showing you earlier. And you'll also need a basic knowledge of Python. So mainly your variables, functions, and how to define a standard function. Okay, so let's get right into it. And the first thing we're going to look at is the syntax of a Lambda function and how to use Lambda functions in Python. So I'm going to get rid of this code and I'm going to just quickly type out an example of a Lambda function.
Quick pause. This video is sponsored by ourselves, because we have a Python course that will help you to become a real Python developer from scratch. It's a 30 hours plus course that will teach you everything that you need to know to become a real Python developer. And along the way, you are going to build a bunch of cool little applications, and you're going to learn how to use different kinds of modules, how to build applications using Qt with a user interface, how to build a web crawler, how to evaluate data and do data analysis with Python, and a lot more. So if you want to become a Python developer, definitely enroll into the course. You can find the link with a discount in the description below.
Okay, so this line here defines a lambda function and stores that function in a variable x. We're storing it in a variable for the sake of reusability while giving examples, but if you were using this in the right place, you don't generally need to store it in a variable, and we'll show you an example of that later on. So the first part of a lambda function is the lambda keyword. That's how we start to declare a lambda function, and straight after that is the variables or arguments. You can think of these variables as arguments in a standard function. They're variables that you can pass to a lambda, and the lambda will operate on those variables. So we have the keyword, and then we have the variables, and then we have a colon, and after the colon comes an expression. So basically, this function is going to add 100 to whatever we pass to the lambda function. So if we say print x, which is our lambda function, and then within brackets we can pass 2 as an argument, this should print out the number 102. And if we run this code, you can see our output is 102. So one thing worth mentioning here is this is how we call a lambda function. So you can see we've got x, our variable that we stored our function in, followed by brackets, just like calling a standard function. It's the variable name, brackets, and then the arguments that you want to pass in. Now we can add another variable here. So let's pass in 2 variables. So we're going to have a and b, and within our expression, we're going to multiply both of the variables or both of the arguments. So if we call our lambda function now and we pass 10 and 2, we should get back 20. 10 times 2 is 20, and we do. So what that's doing is just multiplying both of these integers that we've passed into our lambda function. So I'm going to show you how we can define a lambda function without storing it in a variable. So if we get rid of this variable here, we need to put our lambda function in brackets, and then immediately after we need to pass in those variables that are our arguments a and b. So the same as before, we're going to pass 2 and 10, and we're going to get rid of these couple of lines. And at the moment you'll see if I run this, there's no output, and that's because we're not printing anything. So we're just going to wrap this in a print statement, and now if we run this, you see we get the same as before, we get 20. But we haven't stored this lambda function in a variable. And a lot of the times this is how lambda functions are used. Lambda functions are great for being anonymous, short-term functions that we don't want to keep reusing, and this is how you'll see them defined and used a lot of the time. So you should be seeing how we can do some really interesting stuff with lambda functions. And another feature of lambda functions that makes some of our more advanced functions definable using lambda functions is the fact that they take all types of arguments. So they take positional arguments, named arguments, and I've got a few examples here that I'll just paste in and walk over. So we can get rid of our original one at the top here. And you can see that this first lambda function just has 3 variables and it adds them all together. 10, 20, and 30 will give us 60. This second lambda function, the first 2 are variables and the third is a default variable. So if it's not passed, the C variable is going to be referencing the integer 30. However, it can be passed, and I'll run this just to show you. So we've got our first is 60, which we know, and the second is 60, which is 10 plus 20 plus 30. But if we pass in C as something different, so if we make it 5 and run that again, you can see that instead of adding 30, we've added 5. You can see that where we pass in our variables, we can also instantiate variables right there. So say if b wasn't already available as a variable with a value, we can do that inside of the argument list here. You can see that we can use the args keyword as a variable, and what that'll do is just pack our variables into a list, And inside of our expression here, we're just summing everything that is inside of that list. So sum of args will be a list of 10, 20, and 30, which will result in 60. And it'll be the same with keyword arguments. So keyword arguments are similar to dictionaries. There'll be a key, and that key will reference a value. And you can see, similar to the function above here, we're calling the sum on our keyword arguments, but we're calling it on the values within keyword arguments. So that would be 10, 20, and 30. And this bottom function here is just giving us another example of having some default arguments that we're then changing when we instantiate our function. So if we go back to our original function that we created, this is just multiplying the two variables here. We can also just print out the location in memory of this lambda function. So if we just print x without any arguments added, you can see that it's outputted function, and it's told us that it's a lambda function and the location in memory. So if you ever needed to know that or are interested, you can just print out the lambda function itself and you'll get its details. So I think now's a good time to show the difference between a standard function, so using the def keyword, and a lambda function, so using the lambda keyword, just to show the differences. So the function we're going to create is the square function, and it's just going to square the integer that we're going to pass to it. So it's going to take one argument, and it's going to return that argument times itself, and that'll give us the square of whatever we pass it. So we're just going to print square of 10, which would be 100. And then below that, we're also going to print out a lambda function. So we're going to use the lambda keyword. We're going to give it one variable, and then we have our colon, and now we can type out our expression. So we're just going to do a times a. And both of these should return the exact same output. It should be 100 if I pass in an integer to our lambda function. And you can see that they both do. However, you can see that our standard function using the def keyword took 2 lines of code, whereas our lambda function was written in line with the print statement, so it really didn't take any extra lines, and it's much more economic that way. As these functions get more advanced, you can see that our initial standard functions might get quite long, whereas our lambda functions could be done in a single line. You can also see that our standard function, we needed to use the return keyword to return the result of our calculation, to return what we would expect to be returned from its square. However, in our lambda function, after the colon is our expression, and this expression is always returned. So we don't need to use the return keyword, and it's just one more piece of the simplicity in using lambda functions. So if we take a look back at the first function that we wrote, I said we'd be coming back to, we now have a bit of a foundation and understanding of what lambda functions actually are and how to use them, and the syntax involved. So we can now look at this operation that we're running on our list, and you can see that we have a lambda function on the inside, and we have this filter function. So what filter does is it takes a list and a function as its arguments, and what it will return is all elements of that list that we give it for where our function returns true. So if we look at our example here, our lambda has one argument, which the filter function makes all of this happen, but each element from our list will be passed in as this x variable, where x modulo 2 will be true whenever it's an uneven element. And that's what will be returned from this filter, each of those elements where that's true. Now we're passing this into our list function, which just typecasts all of these integers into a list. So that's what's stored in our final list variable. And if we print the result of our code, you can see that we have a list of all elements in our initial list that are uneven. So another scenario that you'll often see Lambda functions used is where we're using the map function on a list. So what the map function takes as arguments, again, is a function and a list. So we already have a list. If we quickly type out a Lambda function, so what this function will do is map will change the elements within the list that's given. So iteratively, it'll go over our list. Each of these elements will be passed into our lambda, and the result of the expression of our lambda will be placed back into the list. So 5 times 2 will be 10. We'll have 14, 44, and so on. So if we run our code here, you can see that it's just ran our lambda function over each of these elements, which has multiplied them all times 2. Now we could say x times x to get the square of each number. We could have x divided by 2 to have each of these divided by 2. And you can do a lot of really advanced stuff just in a single line using these lambda functions. So I have one more example to show you, and that's going to be using the reduce function. So we have to import that from a library in our top line. We then have a list again, and then we have the reduce function. So what reduce does is take in a function and a list, and it will use this function iteratively over this list, and it will reduce the list to one element, and then it will return that single element. So if we run this, you can see that we get 451, which is the result of adding all of these elements using our lambda function here. So we've created our lambda, we have x and y as the variables that can be passed, and then the expression says that we're going to add those variables together. So throughout our list, initially 5 and 7 will be passed in as x and y, and then the result of 5 plus 7 will be passed in as x, and 22 will be passed in as y. And then the result of this will be x, and 87 will be y. And it will go on throughout the whole list until we have one reduced element left over. So it's reduced it down to a single element using the function that we've given. Now we could use x times y, and we'll have a much bigger number. We can do x minus y, and we'll get a negative number back. So this is another example of an advanced function in Python being written in one line of code. And lambda functions just make these kind of advanced functions, especially in regards to list iteration, really simple to write, read, and less resource intensive, and not as many lines of code. So they're a great tool to be able to use. So in summary, to go over everything that we've just talked about, a lambda function is also known as an anonymous function. They're small, short-term functions, and they don't need a name. So they behave just like a regular function declared with the def keyword. However, the keyword for a lambda is lambda. The function can take any number of arguments, but only have one expression, and that expression is always returned. Lambda functions are used when an anonymous function is required for a short period of time. Lambda functions can be used in conjunction with other functions such as our filter, reduce, and map, along with many more functions. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed and learned something from this video, and I'll see you next time.